Hey guys, welcome back to Master J Skills. In this video, we are going to cover from most asked interview questions to all the possible interview questions on constructors in Java. Yes, if you covered complete of this video, you are going to crack any interview questions on constructors in Java. So don't skip any of the questions to crack any interview questions on constructors. So before we begin, if you are new to my channel, please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to get all my updates. So now let's get started to a question and answers on constructors. So what is constructor? Constructor name itself says it constructs Java objects. In Java, a constructor is a block of code similar to the method which has the same name as a class name. It does not have a written even wide also. It is also a member of a class. A constructor looks exactly like a method, but it's a special because its name is the same as a class name and it does not have any written type. For more details on what exactly the constructor to understand in depth, please go through my last video on constructor. If you want to learn more on the constructor, please go through my old videos, constructors in Java, as well as the examples on constructors in Java. So now let's see what is the next question. Do we have a copy constructors in Java? Unlike C++, there is no explicit copy constructors in Java. However, we can achieve the functionality of a copy constructor in Java by copying the values from one object to the another, just like the copy constructor. To copy the value of one object into the another in Java, you can use constructor or assigning the values of one object into the another, or a clone method of a object class. So I have explained in deep about a copy constructors in the previous video. Please go through that to get more detail on a copy constructor. So the next question is, what is a constructor chaining? Constructor chaining is a technique of calling another constructor from one constructor. This method is used to call the same class constructor, whereas a super method is used to call the superclass constructor. Yes, constructor chaining is a possible with the two keywords, two functions, that is this and super. So this is used when we want to chain the constructors within the same class, and if we want to chain the constructor of superclass, then we have to use the super functions in the derived class. So the constructor chaining is nothing but chaining the constructors. Why we have to chain the constructor is to reduce the duplicate code. Let's see what is the next question. The next question is, what is the purpose of a default constructor? The default constructor is used to provide the default values to the objects like 0, null, etc. depending on the type, depending on the data type. So yes, default constructor is used to initialize the default values. So what's the next question? Why to use the parameterized constructor? The parameterized constructor is used to provide the different values to a distinct objects. However, you can provide the same values as well. So the next question is, when constructor is called, each time an object is created using a new keyword, at least one constructor, it could be the default constructor or parameter constructor, is invoked to assign initial values to the data members of the same class. So the next question is, does a constructor return any value? Yes, it is the current class instance. You cannot use a return type at it returns a values. Yes, the constructor returns a current class instance or the object. So the next question is, what are the rules for writing a constructor? The constructor or the constructors of a class must have the same name as the class name in which it resides. So as we already know that constructor name should be same as a class name. That is the first rule. Second rule, a constructor in Java cannot be abstract, final, static or synchronized. So third rule is, access modifiers can be used in constructor declaration to control its access, that is which other class can call the constructor. So we can use access modifiers like private, public, default, these all can be used in a constructor. These are the main rules. Apart from this, another one is I forgot to mention here, should not have any return type. So these are the rules of writing the constructor. So the next question is, can a constructor perform other task instead of initialization? Yes, like object creation, starting a thread, calling a method, etc. You can perform any operation in constructor as you perform in the method. It's exactly like a method, but you cannot call it with a dot operator, but you can call it with a new operator. You can perform any operations like a method. So constructor can perform any other task including initialization. So the next question is there a constructor class in Java? Yes, it is there. It is there in reflection package. So what is the purpose of constructor class? Java provides a constructor class which can be used to get the internal information of a constructor in class. It is found in java.lang.reflect package. So the next question is, how constructors are different from methods in Java? There are three main rules defined for the constructor. So constructor must have the same name as a class name. But in method, it is not necessary for the method to have a method name as the class name. Constructor do not return any type. Methods have the return type or a void if does not return any value. So whenever the method is not returning any value, at least void is the return type. So constructor doesn't have any return type. Constructors are called only once at the time of object creation. So the constructors are called only once, whereas the methods can be called any number of times. A constructor is used to initialize the state of an object, whereas the method is used to expose the behavior of an object. So the constructor initializes the state of an object, whereas the method exposes the behavior of an object. The last one is a Java compiler provides a default constructor if you do not have any constructor in Java, whereas the method is not provided by the compiler in any case. A constructor is taken care by the either compiler or the developer, but the method responsibility is whole out of taken by the developer. So these all are the difference between the method and the constructors. Now let's see what is the next question. Why do we need a constructor chaining? So this process is used when we want to perform multiple tasks in a single constructor. Rather than creating a code for each task in a single constructor, we create a separate constructor for each task and make their chain, which makes the program more readable. For example, suppose there are 5 tasks to perform. There are 2 ways to perform these tasks. Either implement all the tasks in a single constructor or create separate tasks in a single constructor and chain them. By using the constructor chaining mechanism, we can implement multiple tasks in a single constructor. So whenever we face such type of problems, we should use the constructor chaining. We can make the program more readable and understandable by using a constructor chaining. So basically the constructor chaining is used to reduce the code redundancy. So now let's see what is the next question. Can we call a subclass constructor from superclass constructor? No. There is no way in Java to call a subclass constructor from a superclass constructor. The next question is, what happens if you keep a return type of a constructor? Ideally, the constructor must not have a return type. By definition, if a method has a return type, it's not a constructor. It will be treated as a normal method, but compiler gives a warning saying that method has a constructor name. So the next question is, what is a no-arg constructor? Constructor without argument is called a no-arg or no-argument constructor. Default constructor in Java is always a no-argument constructor, but difference is the default constructor is created by the compiler, whereas a no-argument constructor is created by the developer. So what's the next question? Do we have a destructors in Java? No. Because Java is a garbage collected language, you cannot predict when or even if an object will be destroyed. Hence there is a no direct equivalent of a destructor. So what's the next question? How a no argument constructor is a different from a default constructor? If a class contains no constructor declaration, then a default constructor with no parameter and no throws a clause is implicitly declared. If the class being declared in an existing class object, then the default constructor has an empty body. Otherwise, the default constructor simply invokes the superclass constructor with a no arguments. So basically, just a simple thing is a default constructor is created by the compiler, whereas the no argument constructor is created by the developer. So what's the next question? What are the private constructors, where they are used? Like any methods, we can provide an access specifier to the constructors. If it's made private, then it can only be accessed inside the class. The major scenarios where we can use a private constructors are internal constructor chaining, singleton class design pattern. So these are the two places where we can use the private constructors. So what's the next question? When do we need a constructor overloading? So constructor overloading is similar to the method overloading. So sometimes there is a need of initializing an object in different ways. This can be done using a constructor overloading. Different constructors can do different work by implementing a different line of a code and are called based on the type and number of parameters passed. According to the situation, a constructor is called with the specific number of parameters among the overloaded constructors. So nothing confusion here, it's a completely same as a method overloading. So let's see the next question. How many types of constructors are there in Java? There are two types of constructors in Java, default constructor and parameterized constructor. Ideally there is only two, but they are differentiated. Again, one more is no argument parameter. So what's the next question? Can we have a constructors in the interface? No, we cannot have a constructors in the Java interface. So the next question is, why constructors in Java cannot be static? The constructor cannot be static in Java. When we declare a method as a static, it means the method belongs to the class and not the specific object. But the constructor is always invoked to the reference of the object. So there is no sense in making a constructor static. The next question is, can we make a constructor final? No. We cannot make a constructor final. If we made a constructor final, it would throw a compile time error. Modifier final not allowed. So the next question is, can we make a constructor abstract? One of the important property of a Java constructor is that it cannot be abstract. If we are declaring a constructor as an abstract, as we have to implement in a child class, but we know a constructor is called implicitly when the new keyword is used. So it cannot lack a body and also it cannot be called as a normal method. So we know that static, final, abstract are not used with a constructor. So let's see the next question. What will happen when a constructor is declared as a protected? Generally, when we declare a method as a protected, other classes can access that method in a different package by using a inheritance only. But when we declare a constructor protected, it behaves slightly different than a method. The protected constructor can only be accessed by using a super keyword according to the Java language standards. So that's the difference between a protected method and protected constructor. So next question is, why constructor name is similar to the class name? When we create an object of a class using a new keyword, it should have the information about that particular class. That is why the constructor name must be similar to the class name. So the next question is, why return type is not allowed for the constructor? The return type is not allowed in the constructor because if we provide a return type in the constructor, it will act as a normal method. So to differentiate between the constructor and a method block, the return type is not allowed in the constructors. The next question, What are the rules for defining a constructor? The constructor name should be same as the class name. It cannot contain any return type. It can have all the access modifiers are allowed, private, public, protected or default. It cannot have any non-access modifiers, that is final, static, abstract, synchronized. No return statement is allowed. It can take any number of parameters. Constructor can throw exception. We can have a throws clause. So the next question is, can we have a this and super keyword in the same constructor? No, we cannot have a this keyword and super keyword in a same constructor, as any one only can be in the first line of the constructor. If we use it, the compiler throws an exception. So the next question is, can we have a class with a no constructor in it? What will happen during object creation? Yes, we can have a class without no constructor. When the compiler encounters a class without no constructor, then it will automatically create a default constructor for you. So the next question is, can we have a both default constructor and parameterized constructor in the same class? Yes, we can have a both default constructor and parameterized constructor in the same class. Can a constructor return any value? A constructor cannot return any explicit value, but implicitly it will be returning an instance of a class. So the next question is, will the compiler create the default constructor when we already have a constructor defined in a class? No. The compiler will not create the default constructor when we already have the constructor defined. So the next question is, can an abstract class in a Java have a constructor? Yes, an abstract class can have a constructor. The below code works perfectly fine. So here you can see this is a constructor, and here this is a constructor of a test class. So the abstract class can have the constructor. So now let's see the next question. Why constructor cannot be abstract in Java? When you set a method as an abstract, then the method does not or cannot have a body. The constructor will be automatically called when the object is created. It cannot lack a body. Moreover, an abstract constructor could never be implemented. So the next question is, how does a Java compiler differentiate among multiple constructors in Java? Java compiler differentiate multiple constructors based on the number of parameters, lists and their types. Therefore, the signature of each constructor must be different. So the next question, why do we use need a constructor chaining? Constructor chaining can be used when we want to perform multiple tasks in the separate constructor for each task and make their order by chaining. It is useful to make the program more readable and easy to understand for everyone. So the next question, what are the advantages of constructor overloading in Java? Java constructor overloading helps to achieve the static polymorphism. The main advantage of constructor overloading is to allow an instance of a class to be initialized in various ways. It allows the defining of a multiple constructor of the class with a different signature. It helps to perform different tasks for different purpose. These are the advantages of constructors. Next question. Can we have more than one constructor with the same signature in the class? No, we cannot have more than one constructor with the same signature in class, as the compiler will throw and conflicts when we have such kind of constructors. So the next question, how to call one constructor from another constructors in Java, using this or super? Using this, we can call the current class constructor within the same class. Using super, we can call the super class constructor from the base class. Next question, what is a copy constructor? A constructor which is used to copy the data of one object to the another object of the same class type is called a copy constructor in Java. So next question, can we create an object of a class within the same class if a constructor is marked with a private? Yes, we can create an object of a class within the same class if the constructor is marked with a private, but not outside the class. So the next question, can a class be extended when a constructor is declared as private? No, you cannot extend. How to call one constructor from another constructor in Java? Using this or super. We can call the current class constructor within the same class. Using super, we can call the super class constructor from the base class. What is the copy constructor? A constructor which is used to copy the data of a one object to the another object of the same class type is called a copy constructor in Java. Next question. What is the output of a below code? So this is a test class, and you can see there is a constructor called a test, and with an single parameter, and there is another test with a long, and here is a main method where it is creating test with a 20. So 20 is an integer, so it will go here and it will print hello. So this is the output of this program. So next question, what is the output of the below code? So here again the same test, here test with an parameter integer, and here another test of a test. This is the copy constructor, and here it is creating test of new test. So 20, so it will create hello world. So it is first it will create a test of 20. So it will create this constructor, then again this object is passing to this object. First it will print hello, then it will print world. So this is a copy constructor. So the next question is, will the below code compile successfully? If yes, what will be the output of the following program? Let's understand. This is a constructor, no parameterized constructor. One is a integer, one parameter with an integer, and another is a we are passing the same class object, that is a copy constructor. We are copying the value from this object. So here we are creating a test. So just a test is default constructor is called. So here the default constructor is called. So inside default constructor, so it is calling a constructor with a integer that it is passing 20. So it will call this constructor. So here in this constructor it is calling null value. The next constructor, it is passing null value, whether it's an object or anything. So here what it will print is first 3, then it will print 2, and then it will print 1. So let's see the output S 3, 2 and 1. So this code compiled successfully, and the output will be 3, 2, 1. Yes, these are the possible questions asked in interview, and particularly on constructors in Java. If you still have any doubts regarding the constructors questions asked in interview, please drop in the comment box. If you are still having any doubts regarding constructors, please drop in the comment box. I'm happy to answer all of your questions. If I'm missing any questions, please drop that particular thing in the comment box, and I'll come up with a video of missing concept in constructor. Moreover, I have covered most of them. If I still missed, please drop in the comment box. Thanks for watching, and if you like this video, please like this video and share with your friends. And if you are new to my channel, please subscribe to my channel and press the bell icon to get all my updates. And thanks again for watching this video.